Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show discussing everything happening with next gen gaming hardware. I'm Daemon Hatfield, and this week we're joined by IGN's executive editor of tech, Bo Moore.
Hey, Damon.
And Max Scoville, host of IGN's PlayStation podcast, Podcast Beyond.
Hey.
And this week we're discussing the new Steam Deck model. This is the Steam Deck OLED, and by the time this episode goes live, the announcement will be out there, and Bo's review will be up. But for transparency, we're recording this before he's finalized his review, before he's settled on his score. So he will be able to share his sort of first impressions with us at this point. But we've got a new Steam Deck model, lots of improvements, including an HDR OLED display. But we should point out this isn't a Steam Deck 2 or a Steam Deck Pro. It has the same power under the hood, but a new screen, longer battery life. It should run cooler, it's lighter, so there's lots of sort of improvements like that. So, Bo, sort of give us your first impressions of the Steam Deck OLED.
Yeah, it looks really, really nice. I went up to Valve earlier this week and got to play with it over the course of a couple hours. And yeah, side by side, the difference is it looks really, really good. The screen itself is very slightly larger. It's a 7.4-inch screen instead of a 7-inch screen on the current Steam Deck. And the big upgrade is obviously OLED. It does HDR content up to 1000 nits brightness in HDR or 600 nits for standard definition content. Still looks really, really good with standard def as well. I mean, if you've gone from the regular Switch up to the Switch OLED, you know that just that upgrade on the screen alone can make a world of difference in how your games look.
Valve is also promising 30 to 50% longer battery life. Have you noticed a difference?
I haven't had a chance to fully test battery life yet, but one of the improvements, so the OLED screen is actually thinner, and so that has kind of allowed Valve to do a whole slew of improvements across the board, including there's a little bit more room for a larger battery, so it has a 50 watt-hour battery instead of 40 watt-hours on the current Steam Deck model. They redesigned the thermals, so it runs cooler. The APU is a little bit more efficient, so it's not actually any more powerful in terms of, you're not going to get higher frames per second or anything, but it's able to hit that same performance target while being more efficient, running a little bit cooler, using a little bit less power. And so yeah, that combined with the larger battery allows for a longer battery life. So they say. We'll, of course, test it out, and I will have my thoughts in my final review.
And Max, have you spent much time with the original Steam Deck?
Very little, unfortunately. I pre-ordered one and then backed out, changed my mind on that. It just, like, I already have a Switch, I've got, other consoles and stuff, and at the time I wasn't doing a ton of travel, so I didn't think I would want one. And I also, Valve has a weird history with making hardware. Like, there was the, proprietary Steam controller, and there were the, variety of sort of quasi third-party Steam boxes. So I wasn't sure if this was going to be a successful piece of hardware to jump on the bandwagon with, or something that just kind of evaporated. But clearly it is the former. And the fact that they're making a new iteration on it is really exciting. And it has me kind of reconsidering grabbing one. Because, I know like everyone, a ton of people at IGN have them. Everyone's spoken very highly of it. It is clearly a very cool machine. And the fact that it isn't just like a one-off experiment from Valve, that's, I think, the most exciting thing about this.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Now I think it's time for me to jump on the Steam Deck bandwagon, get myself one of these OLED models. Several other improvements to this model: 2 to 3 times faster downloads. It's got more storage. They're actually dropping the price of the previous LCD models. But it's supposed to have an improved and more responsive touchscreen. Can you verify that?
Yeah, just like punching in my Wi-Fi info when I was first loading it up, and I then had to do the same on my old Steam Deck to log into a different account to download some of my benchmark games, and I was like, wow, even just the keyboard feels a little bit better. So I'll definitely test more of that with some touchscreen specific games to really get a sense of how it feels. But yeah, it's just a little bit more responsive. One of those things that's really hard to quantify, but you can just kind of feel it's a little bit nicer. Overall, the unit is also a little bit lighter too.
Right.
Just the full dimensions of the device hasn't changed at all. It's the exact same ergonomics, exact same dimensions, despite the screen being a little bit larger. But yeah, it's just a tiny bit lighter, and it feels a little bit better in hand.
Do you feel like you can say at this point that it is definitely an improvement over the original launch model?
Oh, absolutely. And like, honestly, I'm a little jealous of you guys if you didn't already have a Steam Deck, because then it's a no-brainer to just grab the new one. Whereas, it's a bit harder of a decision if you already have a Steam Deck to decide, is it worth the upgrade? That's going to be a harder question. A lot of people, they had a Switch and they went all in on the Switch OLED and they were like, yeah, absolutely, I want it to look the best it can. And if you are all in on the Steam Deck and you use it all the time, especially if you have a friend that you can maybe sell your old model to, then yeah, I think it's an easy upgrade. But if you're an occasional user but you do already have one, I don't know if it's going to be worth the having. If you're just buying another one and having your current model just sit there and go unused, that's a little bit of a waste.
Well, on the day that this news is out there and this episode goes live, the price of the previous LCD models, they're all dropping. And then the OLED models will start shipping on November 16th, I believe. And they're going to start at $549 for the 512 gig model. And then there's a 1 terabyte model for $649, and then a 1 terabyte limited edition for $679. And both the 1 terabyte and the limited edition models have premium anti-glare etched glass. So that's exciting. Definitely might be time for people like myself and Max to finally get a Steam Deck. Max, Sony also has kind of a handheld device shipping this holiday season as well. Although it does not play games natively, it's the PlayStation Portal, which is meant to stream your PS5 games to, which is basically just a screen that will allow you to play games when you're not, as close to your PS5 as before. Definitely a different product than what Valve is offering here with the Steam Deck, correct?
Extremely. It is a handheld device in that you can hold it with your hands, but I think calling it portable has like a pretty big asterisk in the corner. It is, as someone who loved the Vita dearly, it is really not what I want Sony to make. And the fact that Valve is clearly doing well with the Steam Deck, and Nintendo is going gangbusters with the Switch. It would be so cool if Sony just, threw their hat once more into the proper handheld ring. But instead, we're getting the PlayStation Portal, which, again, not trying to be too negative on it because some people are really interested in it, but it is effectively a second screen rather than a dedicated device, and it is a solution to a problem that already has multiple other solutions.
Right.
We already have the backbone. You can already just pair a controller with your other devices of choice. That said, it looks nice. I mean, I could be convinced otherwise, but yeah, I mean, good on Valve. I'm really happy for them. It's cool to see them continuing to iterate on this wonderful design, and then it's sort of a little bit demoralizing for Sony to come in and be like, anyway, here's this.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's an issue of Sony just wanting to have their own proprietary solution, since third-party solutions already exist. Bo, does the arrival of this Steam Deck OLED model so soon after the launch of the original, does that tell you that this, it is a definite success for Valve? I know they're not sharing specific sales numbers, but
Yeah, when I was there, I asked, and they said they have the sales numbers. They're not disclosing them publicly, but they said that they're pleased. They were very happy with the sales numbers that they've seen. I know that Steam Deck units were sold out for a long time. There was a long waiting list when they first went on sale. They've now ramped up production and have kind of caught up with that and are able to get them out to people who've placed their orders, within a week or two, as far as I understand. But yeah, they are very much so in on this device, and they described the Steam Deck OLED as kind of the definitive version of the Gen 1 Steam Deck. This is absolutely not Steam Deck 2. Like they are very clear. They have spoken publicly about how Steam Deck 2 is still years away. They will not be making Steam Deck 2 until the technology of small computer processors have caught up and they can put forth what they feel is a generational leap performance-wise. And so they described it as the Steam Deck that they wanted to make 2 years ago, but again, the tech just wasn't quite there, and so they've iterated on the ways that they were able to improve it without changing that performance target for devs, so that devs can still go through the same verification process and have a target, much like a console, where they can just say, okay, we're aiming for this performance target, and if we can get our game running at this spec, it'll run on Steam Deck.
It reminds me a little bit of the Oculus Rift when it first came out. Like the Kickstarted version had like the dev kit, which made its way out in the wild, and that had like kind of a so-so display. But everyone was just blown away that VR was suddenly here and it worked. And then by the time I guess they were retail models kind of made their way out of the wild. It was like a slightly refined version, but it was also kind of being like, yes, this thing's on, this thing is here, and now here we are. Fast forward 10 whatever years, and we've got 3 iterations of MetaQuest floating around. But yeah, I mean, it's really nice to see that Valve is taking that approach where it's iterative, but not in a way that's screwing over people who are trying to get stuff running on it.
And much like the Quest example there, since the announcement of the Steam Deck, there have been a bunch of other companies that have jumped in the ring. We have Asus with the ROG Ally. There's Lenovo has a handheld as well, the Legion Go. Ayaneo is a company that has done a bunch of Indiegogo projects and have been making these handheld PCs for a while now. And just the popularity of the Steam Deck really, it pushed forth the Ayaneos who were already doing it, as well as got these other major hardware companies in the game. And Valve views these companies as their competition, but they're not competition. They're all in this together, and they're like, yeah, we if you want to use SteamOS, if you want to license it and put it on your devices, absolutely. They see it as a new hardware platform that just will continue going on, and yeah, in the future there will be a Steam Deck 2, but again, they're not ready for that. Sure. The tech isn't there yet.
Well, again, the Steam Deck OLED model will start shipping on this month, November 16th, and right after this video, you can hop over and watch or read Bo's final review. Last week we were talking about horror games, current horror games you can play and upcoming horror games to look forward to, and we asked, how do you like to play scary games? And over 60% of you responded Alone in the Dark, which is appropriate. But just only 3.8% of you said that you play them with a guide so you know all the scary parts. I don't know if I believe that. We have the data that show how popular our guides are. We know there's more than 3.8% of you playing along with our guides, but I digress. A new poll for you to vote on for this week. Do you own a Steam Deck? Yes, no, but are you planning to get the Steam Deck OLED model, or are you just not interested at all? Make sure to vote at IGN.com the day this episode goes live. We'll share the results with you next week. And that's going to do it for this edition of Next Gen Console Watch. Thank you to both Bo and Max. Thank you to everyone working behind the scenes in our LA and San Francisco studios to make this episode possible. My name is Damon. We'll be back next week. Actually, we're going to be back tomorrow when this episode goes live. And we'll be celebrating the 3rd anniversary of the Xbox Series X. We'll see you then.